Hey, Janice.
Hi, Anthony.
Today, let's talk about how we negotiated our home purchases. There are so many different strategies out there and scenarios for negotiating home purchasers. You can get a book by a Navy SEAL or an FBI negotiator. There's so many tips out there. We can't cover them all. So what
No.
we're going to do is just share our stories,
Okay.
right or wrong, and hopefully you'll learn something from it.
Absolutely. So, we're going to share our home purchase negotiating stories, which include when to walk away from the games,
Hmm.
remaining reasonable, staying firm, friendly, and closable, and then starting out the negotiation process prepared.
And lastly, we'll go over what I guess is our surprising takeaway about negotiating the home price. So make sure you stay tuned for that.
Absolutely. And then please subscribe, comment if you have any questions or some ideas after you hear us.
Okay, so I'm going to start us off with when to walk away from games. So this I think this reflects a bit of my personality. So there was a unit, actually this happened more than once, but let's just use this example. There was a unit that my wife and I were very interested in. This gorgeous playground and courtyard that was our balcony would have overlooked. So it would have been really sort of almost the best of both worlds, middle of Manhattan, but we could sort of call out the kitchen window, kids, come in, time for dinner. Very, very we had a lot of we were kind of falling in love with the place. Let's put
Yeah.
it that way. But the seller had this horrible used car salesman of a broker. I mean, he was just the worst. The best way I can describe it is he kept moving the goalposts. I don't know if he thought I
Ah.
was unintelligent or I couldn't do math, but he kept doing things like, oh, well, the purchase price is, I don't remember what it was. Let's say 1.1 million, right? But we'll knock that down to 1 point, I'm sorry, let's say the purchase price was 1.2 million. He would say something like, I'll knock it down to 1.1 million as long as you pay, the flip tax, right? But if you did the math, that was actually making us pay more. And he
Wow.
kept doing things like that, like as though I couldn't just. And I don't think I can't tell if he was just discombobulated or if he was trying to pull one over on me, but it was really annoying.
Yeah.
And despite all this, despite all these games he was playing, we kept going through because we're like, oh, you know what? Once we close, we'll never have to deal with this guy again. Just grin and bear it. We like the place. Janice, do you know that saying, it never hurts to ask?
Right. Yes.
Well,
But
well, yeah, I'm going to say at a certain point, it does hurt to ask. When you keep asking for things, you're actually wearing down somebody.
yeah.
And what happened was, yes, we were very close to getting into contract on this place, but the seller's broker, Mr. Used Car Salesman,
Mm.
kept asking for things. And he kept saying, well, you can just say no. There doesn't hurt to ask. But it really did wear on us to the point where we eventually pulled out of the deal. We just walked.
Wow.
And what I mean by that is they kept moving the closing date. They kept asking for, uh, I think they were asking for concessions on inspections or on the. I don't remember exactly, but the final straw was that they said, "Oh, actually, we actually need to live here post closing, and but don't
Oh.
worry, it won't be long. So we don't want to pay any rent." It was just really weird.
What?
They wanted to stay. They wanted to close, but
And then
continue living
stay
there.
there. Wait,
Yeah.
that doesn't work that way.
And again, the point of view of the broker was, well, I mean, what? It doesn't hurt to ask. You can always say no. But at that point, it really felt like we were dealing with like just shenanigans,
Yeah, that's
And
way
I
too
didn't
much.
and I didn't know, it made me think, I don't know what else could be like. If these are the folks we're dealing with, there could be a time bomb of a
Yeah.
problem with the unit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's not, there's something. Those red flags are all over your story. Yeah.
So again, we did try to believe that, look, once we close, we'll never deal with these folks again and we'll get the place that we want. But there were enough problems, enough games, enough foolishness that we decided, look, there's probably problems we don't see
Yeah.
because based on how they conduct their, go about their business. So watch out for people who play games. I mean, this is not really a great example of how to negotiate a price, but it is a good story about how to not have, just don't take too much, even if you're falling in love. Make sure you're able and willing to walk away.
Absolutely. And when you said it never hurts to ask, in my head, when you asked that, I thought absolutely, but maybe just one thing. Like it never hurts to ask once for one thing, maybe one small thing, but repeatedly, you're beating the dead horse? Like, come on, how many times? So that brings me to a story about remaining reasonable. Same concept as yours. As we're in the market for a house, we had to be in a very specific neighborhood. We needed an office, like we had our parameters. And while it may sound tempting to go in really low sometimes, you know, you see it on TV that the house is worth, you know, 400,000, but I'm going to go in at, you know, 300,000. You know, it doesn't work that way. You have to be reasonable. You have to know the market. You have to make reasonable offers. And I'm talking about, you know, from our side. So there was a house that was for sale, right where we needed it to be. It had been on the market for a year. Now, when we purchased, the houses were flying off the market in days. Like if it lasted 2 days, it was shocking. So there was a house on the market for a year listed, I don't know, let's again, round numbers, 400,000. But when you do all the comparison shopping, they're cookie cutter houses. They're all made from the same mold. They're cookie cutters. And when you did all of the math, I mean, this house was only worth, let's say 300,000. It was that, but clearly they hadn't sold it for years. So you know what? We actually worked up an offer, said, we know that it's may seem unreasonable, but here are all the comps, here's everything else. Your house, unfortunately, is worth 300,000. We will offer that, take it off your hands because it's been there for a year. And they did decline. Now, it might have seemed unreasonable.
Question.
Go ahead.
Did they decline out of hand, or did they counter, or
nope.
didn't
even counter? They said, nope, no, thank you. We'll keep waiting. And they did. Well, I'll get to that in a minute, but they said, no, thank you. No, again, it seemed unreasonable, but for the market that we were in, that was an unreasonable price. So we went at fair price. We'll buy it right now. No, nothing else. Yeah. So obviously that didn't work. We did find the house that worked for us, listed again, using round numbers for 300,000. We knew it was worth that. We went in at the exact what they were offering, and it closed. I mean, there was no problem. Again, it was a reasonable offer because that's what the cookie cutter houses were worth, and we were more than willing to pay that. But again, you have to be reasonable.
I think that story, Janice, is a great example of knowing the buyer or the seller, mm-hmm. or having a sense of what you're dealing with the seller. Yeah. So let me see if I'm describing this correctly. You had a seller listed at 410. Yep. When the comparables, the market was pretty clearly almost $100,000 less than that.
Definitely, clearly, yes.
And it had been on the market at 410 for over a year. Is that right?
Yep, over a year.
So you have somebody who's not really trying to sell their house. They're just trying to see if they can make a killing, basically.
Correct.
Right.
But funny note.
The question is, are you going to be the one to give them that killing?
Right. You know what? And we tried. We went in with the fair, and we had our backup documents. It wasn't like we were just throwing a number. It actually wound up sitting on the market for a whole nother year, and then sold for just a little bit above what we offered. I mean, they were never. It wouldn't have appraised for that. You have to have an appraisal come in. It would have never appraised. So if they sat 2 years on the house, and they probably made maybe 10,000 more than over market value.
And I don't mean to imply that those sellers are bad people or crazy, but but maybe they were in no rush to sell, and they're just like, let's see what we can get,
Right. And maybe it worked for them in the end. Maybe they did make some money. That's great. But, we just had to be reasonable with what we offered in the cookie cutter environment.
Cool. All right. Now my next example is kind of similar in that, so the bottom line advice is to be firm, but also friendly and be closable. Okay. So what I mean by firm is that you should know, just like Janice's example, you should know what a house is worth. There is some objectivity to this. I mean, you have comparables. Yeah. So you should know within a margin of error of maybe 5% what a house is worth. Right.
Right.
Or a home, because I'm in Manhattan.
Yeah.
So in our situation, we found a unit that we were really interested in. We thought it was fairly priced, maybe slightly on the expensive side, but we were all cash. So we offered 10% below ask in a very, very friendly way. We didn't, accuse them of overpricing it or say, hey, look, we believe that you get something for having an all cash buyer, and therefore we're going to make our offer a little bit below what a mortgaged buyer would pay, because there's risk involved and so forth. Correct. The sellers were very cool, very cordial, and said, "Oh, thank you for your offer. It's close enough that we're not interested." We did actually think we did counter a little bit back and forth, but we weren't able to close it. But everything was cordial, and they left us saying, I don't think we'll be able to reach an agreement, and they went on with their deals. And we left it, this is important, being friendly and in touch, meaning we said, okay, you're not ready to accept our offer now. But if anything changes, we're not in a rush either. We'll be around. Here's my information. Let me know if anything changes. And, best of luck to you. If you find the deal that works for you, awesome. If not, and maybe we're the deal that will work for you later on. So that's how we left it. Okay. 2 months later, we get a call from their broker. Apparently, they had a deal go through. They signed a contract, but that contract fell through. And this is what I mean by being closable. So they had a deal that was, monetarily a little bit more than what we offered, but I don't know exactly what happened, but their mortgage fell through or they pulled out. They were not closable. So that was another 2 months of wasted time for the seller, right? We did a little bit more back and forth. They tried to pull us up, but we were firm. We said, this is really the number we're comfortable with. Especially given your experience, we think being closable and being all cash is worth something. And we again parted ways friendly, but firm, and we stayed in touch. So just like Groundhog's Day, it happened again.
I'm seeing a pattern here. Yeah.
They went into another deal. I think this is over the course of 3 months. It fell through. People weren't closable, and they ended up coming back to us. Or actually, we were checking in every few weeks, saying, "Hey, how's it going? I see you're still listed. Everything good?" All friendly, no pressure. Just check. So finally, after the second or third fall through with them, they came back to us and they said, "Look, is that number still on the table?" I said, "Yep." Okay, cool, deal. Shook hands, went into contract. We to our words, we closed within, I think, 30 days, 40 days, zero problems. And the only reason it took that long is because you need building management in Manhattan. So it was nothing to do with a mortgage or anything like that. We closed basically as quickly as possible. Mm-hmm. We were super friendly. They were really cool. They left a flat screen TV in the unit, which I was able to. Yeah, I was able to move into our apartment, which I loved.
Nice.
So that was cool. And it just worked out really well. I'm not trying to imply that we pulled one over or we won versus the seller. The seller had they did their best to get the best dollar amount possible. But in the end, we closed. Right. So they didn't get any money from those other offers. They just got a lot of wasted time, in my point of view.
Right. But do you think that they would have come back if you were firm but kind of nasty, like take it or leave it? Do you think they would have called you and said, I think
everyone was really cool. Yeah, because we weren't like, you're overpriced.
Right.
Come back to me when you're back on planet Earth. None of that. Hey, look, I see that we're close, but we just, we're putting a different valuation on our all cash offer. I totally get where you're coming from, but if anything changes, let's stay in touch. That keeping it totally friendly the whole time.
Oh, I think it's a great plan because you were still firm. You were still firm, but you were friendly, and it all worked out in the end. So.
And I think they were happy as well. I think it was a win-win, which is the best kind of deal,
Right, absolutely. And you've talked before how people are attached to their home, so it's really nice when a friendly person is going to be the one that comes into it. Sure. So my last story is in the negotiation process is kind of on both sides, is being prepared. So when you come in, it's great if you want to offer the moon, but if you're not prepared, you're going to make everybody fall through, right? So you don't have a leg to stand on unless you have your ducks in a row before you start. So what I mean by that is we were selling at the same time we were buying. So there were so many things contingent on everything. It was a domino effect. So we had our ducks in a row. We had our paperwork. Here we go. Just like what you're saying. We're ready. We got everything we need. We pre-approved. We had everything we needed. And then our buyers were great. We thought they were good, but they were contingent on a gift from a family member who then decided they didn't want to get the gift. It fell through. So, it's okay to, be working on it, but if you are that person that is prepared and you come in, you are going to be able to do a little bit more of the negotiating. Say, like you said, we are ready to close. We have everything ready. We could do it now, except for there's just a process we have to go through. But you're going to be able to negotiate better if you are ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, so that ties in really nicely with the final point. The thing that I really wanted to mention is that the surprising takeaway about negotiating a home price is that the price usually isn't the deciding factor. Okay, so this is based not only on my personal experience and Janice's personal experience, but our experience as executors and attorneys for dozens of deals. So, obviously, if you're like 30% off what's a reasonable price, then it is a deciding factor.
Right.
But if you guys are within striking distance, if your offer is within striking distance of what's reasonable or what the high offer is, closability matters.
Right.
An offer for $10 million that will never, materialize is nothing. That's
Right.
worth
Right.
nothing
It's
to
just
me.
talk.
Exactly. It's just talk.
Yep.
And closability can mean a lot of different things. Just because you're pre-approved doesn't mean a loan will close. You need to be
Right.
ready to show you have the cash on hand, that your tax returns, or maybe not your tax returns, but your documents are the pre-approval letter is just the beginning. You have what it takes to get that loan closed,
Yes.
right? If you're going loan wise. If you're all cash, you're
Gotta,
closable now, literally.
right. But you got to prove you have the cash. I mean, you have to.
Yep.
Right.
And in Manhattan, closability also has to do with how likely are you to be approved by the co-op, if that's the situation you're in, or even the condo. If you have a hound from hell as your pet, that matters. You might not get approved by the building, right? There's just a lot of situations where, or if you're an alt rock lead front singer, a co-op board might a co-op board might not might see that as a big risk.
Yeah, I would. Yep.
So also there's closing date. If I've already indicated that my family wants to move at the end of the summer, before the school year starts, but somebody wants to close now, that matters.
Right.
And that might be worth a few $1,000s difference on the purchase price. And then lastly, how much of a pain are you going to be? If you're going to call the seller or the seller's broker for every 10 minutes and just make this a torturous process. Hey, I'm texting you at midnight because I noticed I'm driving by the
right,
house,
I'm driving
which is creepy, by, and I noticed a bulb is out in the mailbox. Will that be fixed before closing? You are a creep, and you're going to be a pain, and and I might not want to close with you.
And the red flags are now going off on that side. Like, why is he driving by? It's midnight, and
to complain about one light bulb, right?
Right, in a mailbox, which I don't know that they have, but yes, I do. Yeah, do those exist? But yes, don't drive around the house at midnight.
So yeah, bottom line is, as an executor, I have, and I'm happy to report this to a judge, to my clients, I have gone with the second best offer or the third best offer numerically many times based on who's most closable, who's going to cause problems for the estate, and things like that. The dollar and cents are only a part of your negotiation.
Absolutely. Totally agree with you. Cool. So I think that's it. Please subscribe, comments, questions, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks for listening. Thanks, Janice. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.